Hello and Sat Shri Akal, my name is Sadhika and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a little different. It's going to be more of an impromptu Q&A session, which I have very lazily named as #AskDD. So DD stands for Delhi Doodle, of course, and a lot of you call me Sadhika Didi on Instagram, so that's how it struck me that I can call the session Ask Didi. So today is going to be our very first Ask Didi session, where what happened was yesterday I put up a question sticker on my Instagram stories, and I asked you to ask me all your art related, all the art supplies related questions, because lately I've been getting a lot of them on my DMs and it's difficult to respond to them individually. So I thought, why not compile them all together in a video which may be useful for you guys. So here we go. I have divided all the questions, although 70% of them are about art supplies. So, but I still segregated them as per calligraphy related, and there are some general questions, there are some watercolor related questions. So yeah, let's get started. The first set of questions that I will now answer are related to calligraphy and hand lettering. So let's get into it. I'm just going to read the questions from my phone and then I'll answer side by side. So what pens or tools do you need to get started with calligraphy? To get started with calligraphy, you need like a brush pen. So I feel like brush calligraphy is one of the easiest forms of calligraphy to learn and acquire. So maybe you can get yourself a set of, say, Camlin or Agile brush pens, which are very easily available in the market locally. Even Tombow Fujinosaki, you can order it from Amazon. So in order to get started, you just need like a sketchbook, a basic sketchbook, or even a ruled notebook. When I'm taking a brush calligraphy workshop, these days that I'm teaching online, I ask everyone to use a ruled notebook because it helps you write in a straight line and helps you understand proportion of letters and height of letters. So you need a ruled notebook, like one of those Classmate registers. I don't have one right now, but you get the drift. And maybe a set of brush pens from Camlin, Agile, whatever is available locally to you. And of course, if you want to get started with ink and nib type of calligraphy, then you will need some sort of a holder and a nib and some ink. Maybe you can go for Parker ink like this, and it's cheap, it's affordable, and again you can use ruled notebook to practice and just get started. And if you want to get seriously into calligraphy, I always recommend that you join a workshop or do an online course, which will help you for sure. And yeah, that's how you get started with calligraphy. So good paper for calligraphy, somebody's asked. So as far as paper is concerned, I have a few favorites. One is of course cartridge sheet. Cartridge sheet is very easily available at local stationers, at on Amazon, everywhere. So cartridge sheet. Ivory, if you're not too concerned about blending the colors, or if you're not too crazy about pigmentation. So I think ivory basically absorbs a lot of ink, so I don't personally like it too much, but because it's so easily there available in the local market, you can try it out for calligraphy and hand lettering. And otherwise, cartridge sheet, bond paper, Cedar sheet. Cedar is really good if you're trying out copper plate calligraphy or modern calligraphy using ink. So again, I will leave all the names in the description so that it's easier for you to remember. And yeah, those are my recommendations. And if you're doing some professional work, like maybe writing a letter for somebody or doing anything else, a quotation or whatever, then you can obviously go for watercolor paper, maybe by Brushtro, by Anupam, any of the brands that you get your hands on. The third question is interesting because it asks, how do I improve my art? So, and this is a very good question. I'm very happy that this person asked this question, because I feel like for a lot of us, if we're not improving, our art every day or every week or every month, and if we're not learning and growing, then we become stagnant in our field, and that is unhealthy. So in order to improve your art, what I do is, of course, I practice. If not every day, then every alternative day, or maybe to create a post on Instagram. That way I get to practice a little bit. And so you practice regularly, if not daily, then twice or thrice a week and try to do something different. Maybe try to involve another element or another step to your process, and that's how you learn and you grow. Once you become too comfortable in what you're doing, then that's when you realize, you should realize that, you know, now I need to add something more to my process. And maybe if you say, if you know hand lettering, maybe learn about stippling, maybe learn about how to create 3D letters, or, you know, just to give you an example, so if you know calligraphy, then maybe learn how to embellish your calligraphy or how to flourish your calligraphy. So add something which will add another, learn something which will add another step to your process, and that will help you learn and therefore improve your art. So that's what I feel. And the next question is about, the next question is, do you teach beginner classes? Yes, I do take beginner classes for brush calligraphy, for calligraphy. This weekend I have one for brush calligraphy. I laid the link below, so you can check that out and see if you would like to join in. How to do for calligraphy and what tools to use. So the reason why I came up with the for calligraphy workshop was because a lot of us don't have access to calligraphy supplies during lockdown. So for calligraphy is a very humble attempt to learn calligraphy using any regular pen that you have. And so you can use like a sketch pen, like maybe this one, like a sketch pen, regular Luxor, Camlin, stick, whatever sketch pen you get your hands on, or anything which is readily available at your local stationers. A regular ball pen, gel pen, anything works, because the whole point of doing for calligraphy is to do it with a bullet tip pen. Affordable alternative to Sumi ink. So when I started with calligraphy, I started with this Parker Quick ink, which is very, very inexpensive. I think it's about 50-60 rupees for 30 ml of ink, and it's not bad at all. It's just that because obviously it's fountain pen ink, it's very, very flowy, it's very watery. It's not viscous like Sumi ink. So it's not exactly an alternative to Sumi ink, but if you really want something to just get started, and if you're too stuck up on the price of Sumi ink, then might as well give this a shot. I also recommend that you check out Amazon for other calligraphy inks and see if there's something that fits your budget. But yeah, Parker Quink, it's called Quink. So this is what I started with, and it comes in about 3-4 colors: red, blue, black, I think green also, so you can check that out. How to monetize your calligraphy skills apart from taking workshops. So apart from taking workshops, which of course is a great idea, but you can definitely, and you should, diversify your income streams perhaps, and maybe take up some client projects, and you can create your portfolio with some wedding assignments or some events that you can do calligraphy for, envelope addressing, and making stationery for a wedding, making cards or e-cards, invites. There's a lot of stuff. You can do some place cards for maybe a dinner or an event, a formal event, and there are lots of client projects that you can get your hands on. So before you get started on monetizing, I would recommend that you make maybe a portfolio or a website for yourself that you can always show your customer or a potential customer that you can go over there, you can check out my work and see if you like something out of these samples that I've created, and they can choose a style and they can hire you. So that is, I hope that answers your question. Of course, monetizing is also very, it can be covered in depth in another video altogether, maybe another course for it, because there are lots of things that you can do with calligraphy and hand lettering apart from just events also, and apart from just workshops. So you can work for brands also, not just individuals. And yeah, I would, let me know if you want to know in depth about how to monetize your calligraphy skills, and I would be happy to cover that. How do we use PH Martin bleed proof ink directly or diluted? So this is my very, very old bleed proof ink bottle from 2016 or 17, I think. I got it when Amazon Global Store started. So इसमें से half of it was it leaked out by the time it reached me. So and now it's completely dried out. So what I do is I take how do I explain it in proportion, so maybe like 4 parts of the ink and 1 part of water, and I dilute it a little bit to give it that slight viscosity of maybe Sumi ink can be a benchmark. And you know, the thing is that it's too thick in itself, so if you just use it directly, it will get clogged on the nib, so that's not a good thing to do to your nib, no. So you should dilute it a little bit. To erase pencil marks without erasing the artwork. So somebody mentioned that they were trying to erase the pencil marks after making their calligraphy piece, and that didn't work out too well, and the artwork was also coming out. So in order to do that, you can use like this kneadable eraser. So this is really good, and it's like a clay, and it does not leave any residue also, and it erases pretty well. Or maybe what you can do is develop a habit of maybe using a very light hand with the pencil, so that the marks are not too prominent anyway, and even if you don't end up erasing them too well, you know, it doesn't look bad or too visible. Does the same oblique pen work for lefties? So you know, I have taught a few lefties pointed pen, and one of them I got a special oblique holder made for. Her name is Libby Gupta, and I taught her in Bangalore. So I got her made this oblique holder with the flange on this side, and then I asked her how does it work for her. And then later on, she even got a normal oblique holder with the flange on, you know, the left side. And I asked her which one did she find more comfortable, and her answer was that, you know, she's okay with both and the process works similarly. And so I feel like while the pen will remain the same oblique holder can be used by lefties. Maybe the technique is different, and of course the angle at which you hold the oblique pen is obviously different. I recommend that you check out Logos Calligraphy's YouTube channel. Logos Calligraphy is a very good you know, page on Instagram, especially for left-handed people who want to get their want to try their hand at calligraphy, pointed pen calligraphy. So I recommend that you check out her channel on YouTube. I believe she's recently uploaded a video on tips for lefties, so you should check that out as well. What do you do with all the artwork you make, and how do you store it? So most of the artwork I make is, you know, normally on sketchbooks, so or art journals, so they automatically get stored in them. And if there's something that I make on loose sheets, then there's this big office folder that I have with multiple leaves inside of it. So I store all my artwork in that. Maybe so what I have done is I've separated my calligraphy and my hand lettering artworks. So even though most of them are in sketchbooks, the ones that are done for practice or on loose sheets, they end up getting saved or stored in those folders, which I find really helpful, because if there's something I want to refer to, an old artwork of mine, supposing I want to refer to it for something new that I'm doing, then I can always go back to that folder and grab it and yeah, go about it. So those were all the calligraphy and lettering related questions. Now coming to more specific questions about art supplies. And before I go on to this, I do want to mention that, you know, I saw that there are so many questions about which art supplies to use for this, which art supplies to use for that, and I will share, because I have the habit of experimentation and I like to explore different art materials. But when I say this, out of 4 or 5 years of experience of doing calligraphy, and anybody who's been doing it for this long will recommend the same thing to you. Do not get stuck up on you know, finding the right pen or the right tool for your art. What you should work on is redefining your skill and you know, making it better every day with practice. So for me, you know, these days, if I will answer this in a question also. Somebody's asked, so let me start with that question first. So somebody's asked, what are the tools that you use most often? And I have this pencil holder which looks like this, and I have all the supplies that I use most often, kept in this. So you will see most of them are pencils. So I have like 3, 4 or 5 pencils. There's one in a compass as well. I have some erasers. Here are also some erasers. And then there are black pens, normal black pens. There's this Uniball one. There is this Miniso sketch pen, which is not too great. It's a regular sketch pen. Again, there's a mechanical pencil. And there are 1 or 2 black brush pens. There's this Pentel Fluid one, and then there are some cutters and some black pen. So you see nothing out of the ordinary, and these are what I use most often to create my artwork. So what are your recommendations for brush pens and water brush pens? So if you are just starting out with brush calligraphy and you're not too keen on spending a lot of money, maybe check out the Camlin brush pens, Adgel brush pens, and even the Doms one that I recently reviewed on my channel. You can check these out. They're quite affordable. And if you are somebody who is at an intermediate level, or you want to splurge, you want to spend some extra money and you're willing to invest in better quality art material, maybe check out the Tombow brush pens, the Sakura Koi coloring brush pens, the Zig brushables. Those are all really nice. And as far as water brush pens are concerned, I have them here. Again, I use them quite often, so I have them right here. My recommendation would be to go with Sakura or Zig. This is the Zig one, and I also happen to try some really inexpensive Chinese brush pens. They also kind of work the same, but yeah, if you want to go for a better quality water brush pen, then obviously invest in Zig or Sakura. They're both Japanese brands and they're nice. What's the difference between artist and student grade watercolors? So I mostly work with student grade watercolors. So this is the pan that I use. It's really inexpensive. I got this for 20 rupees from the Bombay's Chor Bazaar. I went with my friend Jinesh and I bought this. It just looks really cute, so I got it. I also have this artist quality watercolor set, and it works nice. The difference is that the artist quality watercolors are more pigmented, and their payoff is better, their blendability is better, if I can use that term. So that's the major difference, and of course they're slightly more expensive, that's why. So you can go for the artist quality Camlin watercolors, or you can even try White Nights, I don't know, but yeah, it's a Russian brand. And there are half pans being sold, full pans being sold, I think at Sitaram's, at KD's art store also. I leave their names below in the description, so you can check them out. Recommendations for a good watercolor journal. So I don't exactly use a watercolor journal. Lately what I've been using, and I've been receiving a ton of questions about these 2 sketchbooks, the ones that I've been using for my doodling series, my Puntastic lettering challenge this month. So the one that I've been using for that is this watercolor pad that I bought from, I think, Zimiwo, Beko, somewhere, because it says made in China. So I'm pretty sure I got it from one of those stores, Miniso, Zimiwo. And then this is another one which I put up yesterday on my stories as well, that I was trying some watercolor therapy on, just for fun. So these are the 2 that I use, and these were quite inexpensive, about 150-200 rupees. But mostly, if I'm I do recommend that you try out watercolor paper by Brushtro, by Anupam. Recommendations for nib and tools for calligraphy. So I recommend that you get one of these basic oblique holders. I think they're there on Amazon. And for nibs, I recommend Crown Nib, Zebra G, and Principal Nib. And for the ink, of course, Sumi ink. I use it for my practice. From where do you buy your art supplies? So I mostly get them from Sitaram Stationers, Lajpat Nagar, which has everything. It's the Disneyland for art material in Delhi. And another favorite of mine is KD's art store, which the website I will link below. you can shop online from them, and they have a really good and wide variety of art supplies. Okay, supplies for mandala if you're getting started. So if you're just getting started, maybe get your hands on one of these fine liners, which I can't find right now, but you know, one of those 10 rupees Luxor fine writers. Those are really nice. And you can also see sketch pens. Mandala you can make with anything. All you need is a compass, a pencil, eraser, and any basic art supplies will do. Sketch pen, you can use brush pens to color in. And if you're willing to spend a little bit, then I recommend that you check out these Micron pens from Sakura. They are pretty nice. They come in like 6 nibs, and their ink is waterproof. It's archival ink. They're pretty nice, and these are the ones that I've been using in my doodling series again. So everyone's like, how come your pen does not get smudged? So this is the secret, guys. These are the magical Micron pens which have waterproof ink. Okay, what are the art supplies you use most often? This I've just covered. Have you tried making mandala on a wall? If yes, what supplies did you use? So I haven't tried making mandala on a wall, but I've tried hand lettering on a wall, which is right behind me. And I used Posca markers for these because I like matte finishes and I don't like glossy finishing in any of my artworks. So you can go for Uniball Posca marker. And my neighbor who Namya, who has her own Instagram page called swatch.colors, she tried making a mandala on her wall, and she used a simple CD marker, the thick tipped one by Renault or Luxor, and it came out really nice. And so yeah, you can, if you're making a mandala, you can go for anything, like maybe a permanent marker will do, or Posca. Okay, so now we come to the general questions, which are more like inspiration and you know, all the general questions. So the first question is by my friend Janesh, which I really liked. He asks, what is not art for you? So the first answer that came out of my mouth when I read this question was that anything which does not have heart is not art, because the word heart itself has art in it. So you know, you can't make art without heart. Yeah. So that's my answer. Anything which lacks soul or purpose, or you know, a basic sense of being heartful, I think that's not art for me. Tips for people who are just getting started out on Instagram with their art page. So I feel like Instagram is one of the hardest platforms to grow on organically, of course. My number one tip would be to somebody who's just starting out is that don't focus too much on you know, just one platform, and you know, maybe try to diversify to different platforms. Maybe try one more platform alongside Instagram if it bothers you too much, that is. But yeah, as long as you create quality content, and as long as you know how to engage your followers, you know how to build your brand, and you use the correct hashtags, because hashtags are very important on Instagram. So as long as you're doing all of that, I think you should be good. But because Instagram you know, changes its algorithm really frequently these days, you can't be sure what happens next. So the kind of engagement and response that I was getting maybe 4 years back when I started is not the same anymore, because probably because there are too many you know, there's too much that people are putting on Instagram as well. So if say the hashtag hand lettering was new about 4 or 5 years back, so there were less posts on it, so it would be easier to find out a good post, and I feel like, you know, it would be easier to stand out. But now that it has millions of posts, of course it takes a lot of hard work to shine out of those many posts every day. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's become slightly harder, but if you stick to your niche, and I'm not somebody who has a niche. I call myself a specialized generalist, and I like to try different things, but I've heard it from experts that if you try to stick to your niche, and if you try to create one type of content, and it's good quality content, it's useful, it's helpful, and then I think you should be good, and just use the relevant hashtags. What is the step-by-step process of doodling? So doodling for me is like, so you know, the definition that Google gives for doodling is that it's something that you create absent-mindedly, or while you're doing something else you are doodling or scribbling. I don't think that's true, because for me a doodle is like the simplest representation of something. So for example, and I'll show you on my calendar, so you know, I did this artwork and I doodled so many cacti in this particular artwork. So if I were to illustrate a cactus, then I would add so many details, and you know, so many things, like maybe highlights and this and that, shadows, and so much detailing. That would be illustration. So doodling, this is doodling because this is like the simplest representation of a cactus, because it's just taken the basic shape of the cactus and the, you know, the prominent feature, which is maybe like the thorn or the shape, or like the grafted flower on top of a cactus. So I've just taken the prominent feature and drawn it. So that's, I think that's a doodle. So the step-by-step process of doodling would be probably to observe the thing that you're doodling, and just take the prominent feature of that thing and try to emulate that, try to draw that on a piece of paper, and you should have a doodle. How do you deal with an art block, or how do you get out of a creative rut? So I feel like these days especially, you know, we're living in extraordinarily difficult times, and these are not our normal, this is not a day-to-day normal schedule that's going on. So it's fine if you're feeling slightly low, and maybe you can consider taking a break for a while, maybe watch something on Netflix, take a nap, or you know, maybe just bake something or do something different to give yourself some sort of distraction, and take some time off of social media, because I feel like social media is the biggest thing that causes anxiety and causes that problem to persist. So take some time off of social media and you should be good. And if not, then I feel like if the problem still persists, then maybe to get out of creative block, you can try drawing something very simple, or you know, something that does not challenge you in any way. Maybe pick up your watercolors and try some new tutorial, you know, through YouTube, or something that you saw, and that should work. And that's for an art block. And if you're in a creative rut, if you don't like anything that you're making, or if you can't think of, if you feel like, you know, I've already done this and I don't want to do it again, it's too boring or whatever, then it means it's time for you to challenge yourself and try out something different, something new. So maybe pick up another medium altogether, maybe try out acrylics, maybe try out gouache, or you know, pick up a new tool. If you're into calligraphy, maybe get your hands on a flat nib pen and try something different. And you never know, you know, how that works for you, because for me, that's how I've been able to learn so many different things. I keep getting bored very easily of doing the same thing over and over again. So if you see my Instagram feed, it's full of everything I've done. I do iPad lettering, I do calligraphy, I do hand lettering, I do doodling also, I play with watercolors. So that's because I keep getting bored of doing the same thing again and again. So every time I get slightly bored, to keep myself interested in art and what I do, I pick up a new medium or learn something new and challenge myself. and that really helps me and motivates me to keep creating. So I hope that answers your question. What software do you use for digitizing your artwork? So I use Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator to digitize my artwork. If it's a logo or something that I have to vectorize, then Illustrator. If it's something that I just need to give a digital copy of in the form of a PDF or PSD file, then Photoshop. Yeah, most often actually I end up doing work digitally on my iPad, so it makes the process even easier for me. How can I continue my passion for art after school? So if you just clear your school examinations, I feel like just keep playing with art, keep experimenting, and keep yourself interested in what you do. Maybe you can, if you're joining college, then maybe you can join the creative society of your college and help them, and that will help you make your portfolio. And keep experimenting, keep trying. And if you're serious about getting into designing, then maybe you can consider joining a design program at NIFT or NID or Pearl or one of those institutions. So you can do that. Recommendations for watercolor classes on Skillshare. So the two people that I really enjoy learning watercolors from are Garima Srivastava. Her tutorials are very nice. I really like how she speaks and she shows once or twice over after she's done a tutorial, and that really helps. And the other is Sharon Stevens, and I really again like how soft-spoken and patient she is with her teaching, and I found their watercolor tutorials to be quite useful and easy to follow along. So those would be my recommendations. How to get perfection? You shouldn't. So there's nothing like perfection. I think perfection is a myth, and especially if you're doing some sort of art by hand, then it shouldn't be perfect, and it can't be perfect. There will always be those little imperfections which make it beautiful and unique. So you shouldn't chase perfection at all. Okay, so masking tape tears my page. How do I use it properly? So if the masking tape tears off your page, it means the adhesion of it is too strong. So what you can do is you can take some masking tape, put it at the back of your hand before putting it on the paper. Take some of the adhesion off and then place it, then stick it on the paper. That way it won't be too strong and it will be still easy to pull out. The second part of her question is 200 GSM enough for watercolors? So yeah, I think the watercolor paper that I just showed you is 200 GSM. 200, 180, 250, 300, these are the variations, these are the variants that I've used in watercolor paper, and they're all pretty good. It depends on how many watercolor layers you're using and how much percentage of cotton there is in the paper as well. So for me, 25% cotton paper, 200 GSM usually works. How to start selling your artwork, and does it require a license? So what you can, I don't know if your question is about licensing your artwork or about whether you should register yourself before you start selling. So the answer to both is that, you can register yourself as a company if you're serious about selling your art. That obviously gives you legitimacy, and you can do that. And to start selling your artwork, maybe for the first step would be to build an audience that you can sell to, or have a product that you can sell. And before that, what you probably need to do is create a good artwork. So practice, get good at what you do, get confident at selling and making a product that you are confident will sell at a price that will sell, and then go ahead and list it and see how it works. So the next question is how to price your artwork. pricing is something that is very difficult to capture in 1 minute or 2 minutes of this video. So but I feel like the basic starting point of pricing your artwork can be how much time you've taken to make that artwork and how much years of experience do you have so far in your field. So when I started, I didn't know better, so I used to sell stuff for 100, 200 rupees, and stuff that would take me maybe 1 hour to make and then half an hour to pack and ship and all of that. That is really bad. So now that I know, I have my prices set for different things. So for calligraphy on envelopes, it's different. Calligraphy on a hand calligraphed letter, it's different. A digital iPad piece, it's different. So for everything that I do, I have a wall mural would be different. So for everything, I have a base price, and according to the time and effort it will take me, and that's how I price my artwork. Okay, ever since I've made an account on Instagram, I make art to post and not to enjoy the process. I end up hating what I make. So how do I deal with that? So I feel like that's a very relatable thing, and if you don't like what you make, then it's not like maybe you hate it because it's not receiving that kind of validation that you expected. If that's the reason, then you should know that the worth of your artwork is not defined by the likes or the numbers you get on Instagram. If you don't like it because you don't like it, if you don't think that it looks pretty or beautiful, then maybe seek another opinion. Maybe show it to your mom or sister or somebody else, like a friend, and ask them what do they think about it, and that should make you feel better. And if you're like stuck in a creative rut, which I just answered about, that it means that you're not challenging yourself enough, then maybe try something new and try to create something different, and that should help you. And the first part of your question, that I make art to post and not to enjoy the process, that's something quite serious, because for me it's the opposite. I create to enjoy the process and not to post deliberately on Instagram. Initially when I started, I used to post twice a day, and that created a lot of mental load on me. And obviously you can't mass produce something, or you can't produce something over and over again without deteriorating the quality. So there came a point where I had to choose between quality and quantity, and I decided that even if I'm posting just 4 or 5 times in a week, that's good enough, as long as those 4 or 5 times I'm putting 100% of what I do into my artwork. So, and I'm enjoying the process, because for me that is really important. If I don't enjoy the process, then it feels like a job. It feels like a 9-to-5 job that I have to do zabardasti, and I have to do it for the heck of it, which I don't. I took up art because it felt therapeutic and it felt amazing to do something different. So remember why you started and try to enjoy the process. And if you're not, then take some time off of Instagram. Forget about the validation. It's more important for you to enjoy as an artist what you do, and then the likes, the numbers, the money, everything will follow. So with that, I think we've come to the end of our first #AskDD Q&A video, and I hope some of you found it helpful. And let me know if you have any follow-up questions below. I cannot promise to answer all of them on Instagram DMs, because then it gets too many follow-up questions for me to answer personally, but I will 100% answer your question if you comment down below, and let me know if you have anything else to ask that I can help with. And if there's any particular topic that you need me to make a separate video about in detail, I will definitely do that. Let me know.